Hello, this is Donna, and we are here for another amazing episode of You Are Designed for Greatness. This week, I have a new special friend. I have lots of them, and I love it. Her name is Leslie, and she is all the way in Canada. Well, when you're in the US, that's not super far, but both of them are really big. So anyway, Leslie, welcome to You Are Designed for Greatness. Tell us about yourself.
Thank you very much, Donna. I'm really happy to be here. It's really an honor to be able to speak with you today. Hi, everybody. I come from Quebec, Canada. So we recently moved out here from the west of the country to be a little bit closer to family, which is really nice, especially in this day and age that we have right now. And I'm a leadership coach with a focus on the new and emerging leader.
And what about you personally? I know you have a puppy dog. What else about you?
I do have a dog. She was making a little bit of noise earlier, but she's good now. And we have a son. He is 7, and he is in grade 2, and he's just a wonderful little man for sure.
Oh, and your husband was in the military.
My husband was in the military, and after 25 years of service, he has finally retired. And this is the one thing that prompted our move to be closer to his family. 25 years of service away from his family. It's his turn to be close to his family. So it's really great.
Well, a different country, but thank you for your service nonetheless. It is a sacrifice that people do not recognize unless you've walked it.
That's right.
You do not. So thank you. And thank you for all that you have done in that area. So you have a wonderful son, and you have a dog, and you have just relocated. So that's a big change as well.
Huge changes in 2021.
Yeah, lots. Well, in the last 2 years, it has been crazy. The amount
100%.
of change, 100%, things we thought we would never even our wildest dreams experience. And, but we're here, and we're thriving, and we're growing, and we're becoming more. And that's what this podcast is about. So one of the things we talk about in this podcast is overcoming stuff. I'll use that word. So what challenges have you faced in your life? Has everything been rosy?
Oh God, no. I don't know anybody's life who is, who everything is rosy. We do get to obviously react or respond to the things around us, but those things that challenge us do help us to grow as individuals as well. So, if we can embrace those challenges, then we're all going to be better for it, and all those that we're surrounded by as well. One of the challenges I suppose that we can speak to today is how I really came into this coaching and mentoring space. And it really comes from my place of being absolutely, utterly depleted. I was given this opportunity for this role. At first I said, are you sure? Why did you actually want me in this role? It's because it's one thing that I had never actually aspired to be in this role, and nor did I think that it was actually a possibility. But what that left me with is I was excited to take it. I was a new leader in a large organization with a large team, and I gave all my energy away. I gave all my energy away to the point where it took me days to recover from every shift that I was on. I got to the point of, I had my little miracle man. He's 7 now, and I had to send him to daycare, right? So I was sending him to daycare on my days off when I could have been at home with him, because I was depleted. Like I had nothing left, is because I was giving it all away to everything else.
Yep.
Everything. Yeah.
Why do you think you were doing that?
I think it had to do with just trying to please and trying to prove that, I did actually deserve it, and I did belong there, but I didn't know how to I didn't know how to be in that role and do what I needed to do. And so I just gave and gave and gave and gave and gave, and a little while before that, within the same 3 months of being offered that position and starting that position, I also had a miscarriage. So that is,
Oh my.
yes, it was so many things that really had happened at once that I didn't allow myself to work through and to heal from. And eventually the universe said, okay, we're going to make this hurt so that you will pay attention to what needs to be done here, which is really coming back to me and understanding that it's no external influence that can really change, that needs to change. It has to all do with me. And that this is when that healing and the development in many, many areas of my life really started. I've always been into personal development, but this was really the catalyst to move that forward a lot faster.
We usually hit a really hard place that causes us to actually begin to step into what we love all along.
Mhm.
But I have noticed, and tell me if you have too, with women who are leaders, they have some kind of passion and drive to be leaders, to be more, to do more, but we don't know how to balance self-care and the passion or this drive that's in our heart. And we end up debilitating ourselves because of, I need to prove that I deserve it. I need to prove that I'm worth it. I need to prove something, when just being ourselves is where the freedom is. Do you agree?
I 100% agree. It wasn't really until I looked at, who I was as a person, not just as a leader, but who
Yes.
was I as a person, and how can I bring that best version of myself to that leadership role. And when I did that, it was, the thing that made me different is what made me special and made me incredibly effective in my role. And people didn't know how to manage that because I was so different. I was the first female leader at our site-based company
Mhm.
that we had. So I had no other role models, I
Right.
suppose,
Mhm.
to really to learn from. How do I do this thing? And the men that I work with are really amazing, but I can't do how
Nope.
I cannot do what I need to do how they do what they
Nope.
do.
Nope.
So I had to really evaluate what is it in me, and really that had to what I needed to do was to bring in more of that feminine energy
Yes.
versus that so much of that masculine, that drive, that action, get things done. I really had to bring in that feminine piece, and I ended up with a team that so many other people wanted to be on. So it was really easy for me to fill positions as they became available. But yeah, it was that piece that made me different, that made me special, that made me incredibly effective in my
I
role.
use a physical attribute to describe
Mhm.
this in my own personal life. As a child, I was in an environment where people had a lot darker skin and there was no other redheads. And as a child, that was extremely picked on. They made up nurse rhymes about me and songs about me and all kinds of stuff. I call it pain on the playground, and I have a couple blogs about, those kind of things. But
Mhm.
as a woman, it's one of the things I'm complimented about the most. And we think that being different, that's just one physical attribute that's easy to see. But we think that our differences are wrong and we're trying to conform. I am a poor imitation of you. And you are a poor imitation of me, even though we're both women and both passionate and both helping people, and both coaches, but we are not the same. And so I need to be me and you need to be you. And there's space for us to do that and being able to support and encourage each other. Oh, as you can tell, I love this part.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's incredibly important that we eliminate the competitiveness. So,
Yes.
historically, when women in business, we represent a very low percentage of CEOs, et cetera, et cetera. And when those things become available, there is this competitive nature associated to it, which you may not be doing what you need to be doing in the best way possible of
Yes.
how to get there. I think, however, it's important to say, hey, you do the same thing that I do, and that's amazing. Right? There's how many people are there in the world. And I think that when you give what you get. So if you provide that encouragement, if you say, hey, you know what, I'm not the right fit for you, but I know someone who is, and refer them freely, it removes all the competition, because really the only competition that we have is with ourselves.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And you totally give whatever you reap what you sow. You give what you get. It's
Yeah.
the same. It always comes back to me. And if competition is fear and
Mhm.
it isn't faith. And so when I'm in that place of I'm not going to get mine, that somehow it's missing, that it pushes me into behavior that is not my most complimentary behavior.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, we get
And
into the lack type of energies versus
yes.
the abundance of of,
Yes,
of energies. Yeah.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
so that is wonderful. So
Mm.
I'm very sorry. I know it's been a little while, but I'm sorry about your baby.
Thank you.
Um, and what was that like?
That was one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. And one of the reasons why it made that is because I felt so completely alone. So I hadn't told anybody. I had only told a few people, up until this point in time. Um, so when you go in and the ultrasonic tech says, "I'm sorry, there's no heartbeat," and it was very cold. It was okay, your doctor's waiting for you. Go to the clinic. You go to the clinic. I'm having a complete and utter meltdown in the
Yeah,
reception
right.
in the reception area. I'm trying to hide in a corner. They put me into a room with a doctor that basically gives me a piece of paper and a couple of options, and this is it. And it's like, okay, this is just it. And it was it didn't happen quickly either. It prolonged over time. So this is one of the things that had actually happened over the Christmas period. So I think it's one of the reasons why that Christmas is not as, I guess, as joyous as perhaps it once was. Like, I still, don't get me wrong, I still love Christmas and the spirit of it.
But
But
you
it's one of those.
remember, but you
I do
remember.
remember. I do
Yeah.
remember. Yeah, I felt so much shame. I didn't have to tell anybody, which was good, but then I also didn't have anybody to talk to about it either.
Yes.
Right. Um,
Why do you think you felt shame?
Feeling like I did something wrong. What is wrong with me?
Okay.
How did something I did cause this?
Yeah.
Right. So you put the blame really on yourself. Um, and there's nothing, it wasn't anything that I did. It just wasn't meant to be, and it took a long time to really understand that, and really, um, I guess, own that piece, that things happen for a reason. We may not like those things that happen for a reason, but it is part of my story. And when I wrote in Silent Grief, Healing, and Hope,
Show the
it
book.
was
Go ahead and show
just
the
about,
book.
sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Show the book. There
So
you go.
has a butterflies
Silent,
there.
silent what?
Silent Grief,
Grief,
Healing, and
healing, and
Hope.
hope. That's beautiful.
Healing and Hope. And this is, 15 inspirational stories of infertility, miscarriage, and child loss. So we're all talking about our stories and feeling. And the nice thing is to know that, we're not alone in that process. And I've had people say, I wish I had this book because I went through it as well. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
so now we start more of a conversation
Yeah.
about the topic, because it happens more often than we think. But there's so many that just figure, okay, we'll just get over it. Right?
Yes.
That's not a big deal.
It's
It's
just
like,
like you didn't tell anybody, very few
it's right.
people knew. And so it isn't something you broadcast, especially when it happens early on.
Yeah.
But it does not stop the loss of feeling that you didn't, that child. And so it is, um, you can, share with me. We'll put it in the show notes, a link for
Mhm.
people to get that book if you think that would
Sure.
be a help to you that are listening, or someone you know, because that's one of the things women do is silently suffer,
Yes.
whatever it is, even that depletion time. You were silently suffering and not even being totally honest with yourself of where you were, of how depleted you were, even in the process. So
Yeah.
that is an amazing story. And if people wanted to learn more about you, how would they get in touch with you?
The best place to get in touch with me is through my website, which is leslierochelle.com. There's a contact form. You can just send me a note and I will 100% answer you as well.
Awesome. Any other closing thoughts that you would like to share with women who are listening in whatever's on your heart?
I think it's really important. I believe, I know that it is very important for women to really understand who they are as an individual. When we get to dig in and do that self-discovery piece on ourselves, regardless of whether it's personal or professional, when we can dig into what the need, wants, and desires are, and we're able to heal through those things. When we as women heal, all those around us are forced to heal as well, because we
Absolutely.
don't allow certain things in our lives anymore, which means other people need to change how they approach us as well. So do gift yourself with the time, with really digging in and understanding who you are as a human being, because as you become a better human being, or a more evolved, up-leveled human being, everything else gets better. All relationships flourish, whether that's personal or professional.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Totally agree. And the piece about, is it okay for me to want things? Is it okay for me to follow my desires? Because, I'm supposed to take care of everybody else. That's what a good girl does. What are your
That's
thoughts
right.
about that?
Oh my goodness. I think it's incredibly important. We have to be true to ourselves. And one of the pieces of self-care that I do for myself is really standing in my power and speaking my truth and asking for what I desire, asking for what I want, telling people what I do need. It is the best gift that you can
Absolutely.
really give to yourself, and be able to recognize that I do want more, and that's okay. My particular position with the company that I work for, so I still work in corporate because I love it. I also do the coaching and mentoring as well, and I go away to work. So I physically leave and I'm 2 time zones away, but I need my son to see that mommy is more than just his mom, right?
Mhm.
That I have desires and goals and dreams that I want to pursue, and then that shows a good example for him as well. I'm not just your
Absolutely.
mom. I am so much more. I'm a woman, and here's all the things that I want.
Yes.
But then I also get to be your mom as well, right?
Yes. And we can
Yeah.
have it all. We can do both. We can
Mhm.
have the things that we want and the passions in our heart and still take care of our family and friends. And actually, they flourish. One year, my
Mhm.
daughter gave me it was a handwritten card, and she gave me a little gift with it, but it said, to the woman who always shows us that she goes after her dreams.
Such an amazing example. Such an
And
amazing example.
that kind of thing, my daughter is an adult with children.
Mhm.
But all of the times when you felt like you weren't a good enough mom, and you felt like this, and all of the stuff.
Mom guilt. Yeah, I'm
Yes, that
guilty of
mom
that as
guilt.
well.
We have that in heaps and in doses, I tell you. And then to see, I mean, of course I cried, because it's like, of all of the things to give them, to follow your dreams, to follow the things that are in your heart, and not to give up when there's delays. um there is something about, I was discussing it with my daughter who's in her 30s, and I'm like, because I'm older, as I get older, I notice behaviors in decades. And I said, there's something about women in 30, they think they're supposed to have it all together by then. And she goes, yes, I've lived this long, I'm an adult, I should know all the answers. And I started to laugh. And I'm
And
like,
that's why you
well,
have a mom to ask questions to.
I'm like, I'll let you know when I get them because I don't know them yet. I know
That's
enough
right.
to know that I'm learning and it's a journey and I don't have to have all the answers. And I can enjoy the journey and the adventure of being able to discover new things about myself is one of the biggest gifts. And to be able to be in my, I say I can speak my truth without having to be right, because a
Mhm.
lot of times we feel we're wrong because I want this or that. And so anyway, we could talk a long time about this and I was trying
We
to
could.
close. So this is really good. But learning that you are the amazing you, just being you in whatever decade, if you want to put it, that you're in, whatever place you find yourself in your life, just be true to you and everything will begin to work out, your relationships, circumstances, and get a coach. It's one of the best things I ever did is get
That's
a
right.
coach.
Yeah,
Get a coach to help us through because we can't see what we can't see.
exactly.
All right. Well, Leslie, thank you so much for coming and sharing today with our audience and all the amazing women who listen to this around the world. And we will be sure to share all of your contact information and the link to your book in the show notes. And if we can just touch one woman, it is totally worth it.
I 100% agree. Thank you very much for having me today.
You are very welcome. I love connecting with women who have stories to tell and that are making an impact in the world and being themselves. And so on You Are Designed for Greatness, I just want to leave you with these closing thoughts. You are amazing, just like you are. If you are feeling like you are suffering, if you will, all alone, and you really don't know who to talk to, I would love to have a conversation with you. I will put it in the show notes, a link for you to schedule a completely complimentary consultation. Let's get to know each other, and I can help you find the resources that you need to be the best you can be. And so this is Donna. Until next time, just breathe and be you and live vibrantly. Bye for now.